Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and today I'm going through the top 10 books I want to reread. I say top 10, I really mean the first 10 that came to mind when I was looking at my bookshelves. Also, it's a little more than 10 because I have 2 trilogies on here that I am counting as one spot. I'm going to go through these in no real order, just the way they ended up stacked in front of me. So let's get started. The first entry on this list is the I'm Not a Serial Killer series trilogy. I don't know if there's more than these 3 books. These are the only 3 books I've read by Dan Wells. The first one being I'm Not a Serial Killer. The second one is Mr. Monster. And the third one is I Don't Want to Kill You. Or maybe this is the second one. I don't remember exactly which order they go in. Anyway, this book follows a 17 or 18-year-old young man who is very dangerous. He has all of the stereotypical things that you think of when you think of a sociopath or a psychopath. Sometimes I get those words confused, but he has the tendencies that would make him like the stereotypical serial killer tendencies. And you are inside his head. He narrates this as he fights those urges to not become a serial killer. And these books are fascinating and they're like mysteries. He's fighting these urges as a killer is going around in his town and killing people. I remember these books being really interesting. I read them a couple years ago, so I'm really intrigued. I think about these books actually fairly often, so that's why I want to reread them. I also want to know, upon a second read, how they hold up. And now that I know a little bit more about mental health, not that I am a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist or anything like that, but I know a little bit more now and see what I think about it now that I have a little bit more knowledge. Next up is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This follows a man who's trying to solve a murder and he's stuck in a time loop. So every morning he wakes up in a different body at this giant party that's happening, and every night at midnight Evelyn Hardcastle dies. And he every day is trying to figure out who did it. This book is super fascinating. Just really, really so good. And I've been wanting to reread it for a long time. I read it about 2 years ago. And for about 1.5 years, I've been like, I really need to reread that book. Just because I enjoyed it so much. I think I have enough distance from the first time I read it now that while I still remember a lot about it, and I still remember what the end was, I think there's enough that I forgot that it will still have some things that take me by surprise just because I don't remember what happened the first time. Next is A Sudden Light by Garth Stein. I remember reading this book and just being so enamored with it when I first read it about 4 years ago. This book follows, I think he's 16. As with most of these books, I don't remember the main characters' names, but it's like the 16-year-old boy whose great-grandfather or his grandfather owned this lumber mill and a lumber company up in Washington. And as his grandfather is getting ready to pass away, this young man and his father go and try to decide what to do with the lumber mill. But while he's there, he learns a lot about the history of the family and the things that happened when the lumber mill was in its heyday and some of the secrets that haunt the family. And it's honestly a very interesting book. I loved it so much. It's a Garth Stein. I loved The Art of Racing in the Rain. And A Sudden Light, honestly, I maybe even liked more than The Art of Racing in the Rain, and The Art of Racing in the Rain was my favorite book for a while. So I feel like that's saying a lot for me. Next up we have the Niederbipp trilogy by Behunin. consisting of remembering Isaac, discovering Isaac, and becoming Isaac. This trilogy follows a young man as he's just graduating from high school, and he moves to this town called Niederbipp in like the northeast somewhere, I don't remember exactly where, and he becomes the potter for this town, and it's kind of like a cozy, just you're finding out about the lives of these people in this town. All of them adored the old potter who passed away before this new young man moves in to be the potter. It's just kind of like a contemporary kind of slice of life, just because I don't remember that much happening in these books. I just remember finding them very cozy. Like, there is still plot. It's not like nothing happens. I just don't remember what it was. I just remember really enjoying the atmosphere in this, and just the love that these people had for the potter really popped off the page for me. I'm intrigued to reread this because it has been like 7 years since I read this series, and I'm really curious to see how it holds up because I think about the series a lot. I really want to reread them. I'm also a little hesitant because I don't remember a whole lot about what happened, so I'm worried that I'm going to go back and there's going to be something that is problematic or something that just like makes me not enjoy it as much as I remember enjoying it. So I do really want to reread them, but I am a little nervous. Next up is The Space Between Worlds, Micaiah Johnson. In this book, we follow a woman who works as a dimension traveler. In this world, you can travel between dimensions, but the you that lives on all these different dimensions and all these alternate universes has to be dead. And out of all the known universes, our main character is only alive in like 8 of them, so she can go to pretty much any known universe. And this book was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. One of the reasons I want to reread this, though, is because I remember a lot about it, but I don't remember as much as I want to, so I want to reread it and just really take in the story again because I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a really good story. I thought it was really well written, and it's sci-fi, and sci-fi is my favorite genre, so I want this again in my life. Next up, we have this fun little different format for An Abundance of Katherines by John Green. It has literally been 10 years since I read this book, so I don't really remember what it's about. I have enjoyed John Green's other stuff, like his more recent stuff that I've read in the past couple of years, and the stuff that I have reread. I just haven't read this one in a decade. So I don't remember what it's about. I don't remember anything that happens. So I want to reread it and see if it holds up. See if I enjoy it as much as I did 10 years ago. The synopsis on the back says, when it comes to relationships, Colin Singleton's type is girls named Catherine. And when it comes to girls named Catherine, Colin is always getting dumped. 19 times to be exact. Now this washed up child prodigy is on a mission to prove the theorem of underlying Catherine predictability, which she hopes will predict the future of any relationship and avenge dumpies everywhere. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I really don't remember anything about this book, so I'm curious to see how it holds up. Next up is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This book follows a PhD student as he finds this door and doesn't go through it, and then later he finds a book describing that moment that he didn't go through the door and like what would have happened if he did. This book is wonderful. It's magical, it's transportive. I loved it. Erin Morgenstern, I think, is my favorite author of all time. I love her writing. I love the story she creates. So for this, I just want to get lost in this story again and just enjoy it. I've only read this book once, and it came out like 2 years ago, whereas The Night Circus, I've reread it like almost every year since the first time I read it, maybe every other year, because I love it so much. And I think The Starless Sea is going to be another one of those books that I just reread all the time because I love it that much. Up next is Leaving Time by Jodi Picoult. Jodi Picoult, or however you pronounce her last name. I say Picoult. I don't know why. But anyway, she was one of my favorite authors for a while. I picked up everything I could find by her, and I always really enjoyed her books. I haven't read one in a while, but I kind of want to reread some of them, especially this one, because this one I remember just being floored by this story and how much I enjoyed it. So this is on the list. I really don't remember that much about it, so again, I'm just going to read the synopsis on the back and go from there. For more than a decade, Jenna Metcalf has never stopped thinking about her mother, Alice, who mysteriously disappeared in the wake of a tragic accident when Jenna was only 3 years old. Refusing to believe that her mother would have abandoned her, Jenna pores over the pages of Alice's old journal. Desperate to find the truth, Jenna enlists 2 allies in her quest. Serenity Jones, a psychic, and Virgil Stanhope, the jaded private detective who originally investigated Alice's case. As the unlikely threesome begin to piece together what happened to Alice, Jenna's memories start to dovetail with the events in her mother's journal, revealing a series of events far more shocking than any of them could have ever predicted. I remember loving this book. I remember some of the plot points that happen and just like being so into it. So I want to reread this one and, like most of these, just see if it holds up to what I have in my memory. Next up on this list is Middlegame by Seanan McGuire. Honestly, everything I've read from Seanan McGuire so far I've absolutely loved. This was no exception. I'm going to read you the synopsis for this. Again, not because I necessarily don't remember what happened, but because the synopsis is just so well worded and so good in my opinion. And I think it will get across like exactly kind of what to expect out of this book. Meet Roger. Skilled with words, languages come easily to him. He instinctively understands how the world works through the power of story. Meet Dodger, his twin. Numbers are her world, her obsession, her everything. All she understands, she does so through the power of math. Roger and Dodger aren't exactly human, though they don't realize it. They aren't exactly gods either. Not entirely, not yet. Meet Reread, skilled in the alchemical arts, like his progenitor before him. Reread created Dodger and her brother. He's not their father, not quite, but he has a plan to raise the twins to the highest power, to ascend with them and claim their authority as his own. Godhood is attainable. Pray it isn't attained. This book is so good. Like it says, we follow Roger and Dodger. They're twins. They're separated. Very good book. I would highly recommend. And I want to reread it so desperately because I loved it so much the first time. Last on this list is Witches Anonymous by C.K. Johnson. Honestly, really the whole Supernaturals Anonymous series. This is a series of fairly short books available only on Amazon from what I understand because they are self-published. C.K. Johnson is a friend of mine, so I am a little biased, but honestly I love these books and I think I would enjoy them even if I wasn't friends with the author. The first book follows Adeline as her first night as a full witch ends up going awry. There ends up being a missing person. There's a knife that she's not sure where it came from and blood on her clothes. So she goes and seeks out a witch's support group. As she does this, she uncovers lots of secrets from her family's history and some mysteries that her and her friends are trying to solve. Honestly, this book and this series are so well done. Like, C.K. Johnson does a phenomenal job of bringing you into the story and weaving it so incredibly well. The first book follows Adeline as she goes through these experiences, and the timeline of the first book and the second book and the third book all overlap and intertwine in a very, very interesting and creative way. I really want to reread the series because I enjoy it so much, and because new books in this series are in the works, and I want to remind myself of everything that happened as the next books are starting to come out. And that's my list of books that I want to reread. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Let me know some books you want to reread down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in my next video.